Today on the show, we have Ryan Marsh. Ryan is the CEO of Circle City Liquidators. Ryan has been a veteran in the reverse logistics and e-commerce space for a while. I'm pretty excited about this conversation because he's one of the few people who have evolved his business with the industry evolving from what it used to be 5 years ago, 6 years ago, to what it is today. So I'm super excited to cover his journey because it has a lot of insights into how do you evolve your business with changing times and with changing business practices. So Ryan, welcome to the show. Thanks for taking the time.
Thanks for having us. I appreciate it.
Yeah, pleasure is all ours. To start off, Ryan, can you share a little, like, what's your motto in life? What drives you on a day-to-day basis?
I'm always trying to figure out a way for us to just grow. And then, I've got a wife and two kids at home. So always looking for the future and, trying to grow something that we can hand the business off to, not only my family, but and my kids and, my business partner and his kids.
Mhm. Makes sense. Yeah, I mean, I believe what you're trying to say. It's about you're trying to create a legacy that you can pass on to your kids to take it forward. Makes sense.
Yes, for sure.
That's awesome. Are your kids interested? Like, do they show interest in your business? Any stories that they ask you that, hey, Dad, what do you do for work and things like that?
Well, I have a 2.5-year-old that I feel like she's about 15 already, and
Hmm.
then I have an 11-month old that's getting ready to turn 1 years old. So my 2-year-old, every night she always knows, that we do like the e-commerce sales. So she always asks me, "Daddy, can you show me pictures of your work? Show me pictures of your work." So
Hmm.
she likes coming by the warehouse, and I'll take her on the forklift with me, and she always likes to go quote unquote shopping around the warehouse. So yeah, she loves to be here. I think the baby's too young still, but or my oldest always, I think every night at dinner, says to me, "Dad, show me pictures of your work."
That's super cute. I'm guessing she must be getting 100% off on anything she wants to pick while during the while during the shopping. I'm guessing.
Yeah, fortunately and unfortunately, right? Yeah.
Yes, she's your number one customer as well. I'm guessing.
Yeah.
Awesome. Can we touch on upon like how did you come up in this industry? Like I looked up your background. I think you have spent time in retail. You've also spent time, I think, as a correction officer, and so there's a lot. And you've worked at an IT firm as well. So, like, can you share a little bit about coming up? Where did you start your career, and reaching to the point of Circle City?
Yeah, I mean, at a young age, I always wanted to be in law enforcement.
Mhm.
Went to school for law enforcement. Um, Went through multiple retail jobs right out of high school, managing shoe stores and being surrounded by the malls and Black Friday and all the crazy holidays for shopping. And then from there I was transitioned to working with kids. Loved working with kids, and but my eye was always set on working in law enforcement. um, Started began working in law enforcement, and realized that as much as I loved the pay, the retirement, and the benefits, it was just something that was not for me. Wasn't a very happy person, with my life, and definitely wasn't something I enjoyed. So I walked away from an amazing job with an amazing benefits and retirement, and started going back into retail and just kind of touching base and going into sales. And then, I went to a manufacturing company and was their top salesperson for a while. And then I went into the tech industry, which for everybody that's around me knows is definitely not my forte. I'm not a tech person, but I'm very good at sales. So I spent a short time learning buying and procurement, handling multi-million dollar accounts. And from there, I had wanted to buy pallets and sell from home, and I never really understood how to do it. And it took me about 8 months or 9 months before I finally kind of took the plunge. And at the time, my girlfriend, who is now my wife, was probably ready to kill me, knowing that I went and spent $850 on a pallet, and I knew nothing of what I was gonna do. We got the pallet home. I took an inventory list, and then I began just static listing on Facebook Marketplace and OfferUp. And it took me a couple weeks, and then I finally sold. I'll never forget my very first item I ever sold. was a electric guitar for a whopping $20. And from there, I was still working my full time job, and the business. Well, I didn't know it was really a business at the time, but it just took off. It grew to where I was doing about 5 pallets a week out of my own garage while I was still working my full time job. And funny story about how I did it. I didn't have to interact with the customers much. So once I listed the items, and I had them committed to coming and picking up the item from my house, I would have them either drop the cash under my doormat or send me Venmo or Zelle, and I would just put the item on my door. And when I was working remote at the time, so my office window actually overlooked my front door, and then I had like a camera there, so I could always see coming and going. And yeah, I was working my full time job, and I always had an extra window up running a Facebook Marketplace and OfferUp. And from there, I talked to my best friend, and who I always call my brother. We're played high school football together. We're both in our mid 40s now, and we've known each other for 30 plus years, and we've always called each other brothers. We're both only children. And I said, hey, I got this wild hair. Let's figure out what we need to do to get a warehouse, and we could start buying truckloads. And that's where it started. That was we had no clue what we were doing. In all honesty, uh, we sublet a about an 1,800 square foot warehouse. We shared the space with the tenant, and we brought in our first truckload of Home Depot patio furniture and outdoor summer stuff. And we literally thought we were just going to flip on the lights, and a million people are going to come buy these pallets. And yeah, we started on a Saturday morning. We received our first truckload on a Friday. That Saturday morning, I bought a dozen donuts and brought in drinks and thought all these customers are going to come in, and we had nobody show up. And it was like 2 weeks while we were still working our full-time jobs. And then from there, we started taking pallets apart and just selling by the piece. And it started going, I basically was going back to what I was doing already, but we had a warehouse space, able to manage the inventory. And then we had a buddy of ours that we met through the gym that was looking for a part time job. So he kind of just came in and worked for us early in the day, a couple days a week. And then from there, the business just, it transitioned. The bin store craze started on the East Coast and in the Midwest. And we were the second bin store on the West Coast that I know of that ever opened up. And we opened up in a warehouse. And the business from there, I mean, we have, multiple TikTok videos and Instagram videos that went viral. 200, 300 people lined up outside of our building coming in and just using Amazon stuff. And after that, the business, we went into selling individual pieces. We signed a Target contract. Funny story about signing a Target contract. We were in at that time. Our warehouse we had taken over a little bit more space, but we were in about 2,200 square feet, and we were at the peak of COVID. So there was a plethora of surplus of Target, and people around us are like, "What are you guys doing signing this contract?" We had no clue how much inventory we were going to get, and within a couple weeks, we probably had, I don't know, 6, 8 truckloads of Target sitting in front of us, and we were in sub 3,000 square feet. Wasn't a pretty picture, but the business just was growing, growing, growing. And we signed a lease, our first formal lease in 3,500 square feet. And before we even made our first rent payment in that building, we were already negotiating with the same landlord for 8,500 square feet right across the street. So we moved, and we moved, and we were able to open up our new space uh, the day before Black Friday. And I'm trying to remember what year it was, but we had, I think we had about 8 or 10 Target truckloads in there, and we had so many resellers. We were feeding, a lot of the local economy with resellers that had swap meets and Facebook Marketplace, but the cost of goods were so low that we were just able to just turn product. And at the peak, we ran that for about a year and a half, where we were selling, I don't know, anywhere from 14 to 16 truckloads worth of merchandise piece by piece. We were only open, very funny. We were only open 2 hours a day, but we would have 200 to 300 people lined up outside of our door. And yeah, that's how the business started, and that's where it progressed. And then from there, the cost of goods started going up. And A little over 2 years ago, we were at ASD, and my business partner and I were sitting in our hotel room, and we were like, "Man, what are we gonna do with the business? Like, the business is changing." And we saw somebody that we didn't even know who he was at the time, but I love to make mention of him because he's a pioneer of the category that we're in on whatnot. But Chris from Daily Refinement was posting a YouTube video about selling women's clothes on the platform Whatnot, and we were like, "Well, if this guy could do it, we could do it." And that's where our journey into the clothing and where we're at now.
Understand that the business is evolving. Like, you could see the wave before it came because you were involved so much in the business. Because sometimes people miss the wave and they then try to follow. So I think if you started 2 years ago, I don't think Whatnot was that popular at that time. Live shopping was that popular at that time. So catching that wave as well as taking a one way door decision that, hey, we're just gonna go into that direction and start doing live selling, because many would have at that time thought that, hey, this is such a nuanced or a new idea, and it's not gonna grow as it has grown right now. So in this journey, like I really like the fact that how you kind of scaled from buying one pallet. So like one pallet is what created Circle City, is how you can actually look at it, which is which is I think I guess it must be like humbling for you as well to kind of understand that, hey, how exactly a business, like I'm sure, like as you said that the business took off, it just didn't take off. You must have had to do you and your partner must have had to do a lot of hard work to kind of grow through that phases. So what were those early challenges, starting when you bought your first warehouse? Did you have warehousing experience? Because I've done warehousing myself, and when you do it for the first time, it's not really pleasant. uh, so what were those like early days like when you bought your warehouse and got your hands on a forklift and things like that?
We uh we didn't even own a forklift. We had no clue what a pallet jack was. We were renting our landlord's forklift and
Mhm.
pallet jack. He told us that he would let us use them for free for 60 days or 90 days, something like that. And I remember when that first truckload showed up, the young kid that we had met at the gym was working part-time for Home Depot. So he was like, "Oh yeah, I know how to use the forklift. I'm certified." I was like, "Oh, that's cool. You're gonna have to help us offload this because we have no clue." And yeah, that I mean, I would say that was the beginning of the challenges. And then my very odd story, funny story is my dad's born and raised in the warehousing industry. So he's ran 3PLs all of his life. He retired about 2 years ago. He's early, almost 70 now, and has he paved the way of warehousing logistics. He is an OG. I would love to say, he started from sweeping floors and everything in a warehouse, local out here in Whittier, California, to running multi-million square foot warehouses nationwide for 3PLs. He's done Amazon startups. He's done insane things in the industry, and he never really got involved in helping us until recently when the business just like it grew so fast and we had no clue how to put a parachute out and slow it down. It took off. And we just moved into 16,500 square feet August 2nd of this year. And 100% of our processes and flows and efficiencies, 100% thanks to my dad. He comes in here day in and day out, volunteers his time, helps us, teaches us and mentors us. And he's got a couple of the young people here in our warehouse kind of underneath his wings, and he's teaching them. So warehousing, the beginning of it was an absolute nightmare. We had no clue what we were doing. My business partner and I, Jose, uh, we would finish our full-time jobs on a Friday. We would go hurry up and offload trucks on Friday nights after, putting our boots on, breaking down pallets, getting stuff ready for like Saturday morning sales. And, we would get home at 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock in the morning. And then we would be back with the warehouse by 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock, ready to, start selling stuff. So, we got our hands dirty. We didn't have the money to something is so little to have our own trash dumpster. We used to have to like pay other people in our complex to use their dumpster. We would be in the dumpster at midnight, 1 o'clock in the morning with our work boots on, squishing down trash and trying to just make ends meet. But we had no clue what we were doing. It was a very proud to say that we had no clue what we were doing because we were self-taught, you know. We started just making relationships with people that were in the Midwest and the East Coast, and you know, asking questions and just trying to learn. And we were never scared. You know, my business partner and I have always said, you know, scared money doesn't make good money, and we have followed that. You know, we've made a lot of buying mistakes and probably mistakes in the business and selling, and you know, but we've always learned. So I don't know, kind of got digressed with that, but I would say a big part of the warehousing and logistics part of it, that I would say that we have quote unquote mastered at this point is 100% thanks to my dad.
Makes sense. I mean, it's really good to have somebody who has been in the industry so long, kind of sharing his insights and helping us helping you guys set up processes. Because yeah, as you scale a warehouse, there needs to be processes in place, SOPs in place to be able to scale. Otherwise, it's super hard to manage folks without simple processes guiding them. I really liked like how you kind of like I resonate with it myself. Ignorance is bliss. Like if you kind of start thinking the gravity or the volume of a business or what you're trying to do, it always intimidates you more than it needs to, and then you kind of it slows you down. So I really like that how you guys went into it without thinking what it is, and then kind of worked your way through it, got the partners that you needed, learn from other people, and do that. Um, so in that time period, like as you were kind of setting up your supply, like as my understanding in this business is having a good supply at a good price is a very important thing to be able to build a business around. Like what were your like early steps? What were the I mean, you've mentioned some steps, like mistakes that you made along the way. Like would if it is okay, you can share some with respect to what were those mistakes and how were you able to establish the supply that you need to be able to build a successful reverse logistics e-commerce business today.
I mean, I would say in this current market right now, you know, with the clothing industry, it's a very small pond of suppliers in the industry, right? So, you know, we had stuff that I would say with some buys that you know we wouldn't uh, double check who the source was that we are actually buying from, or you know, maybe seeing that it was you know brokered by two, three, four people, and by the time we get it, it wasn't what it was, you know, explained to us, et cetera. And you know, I used to think the liquidation world with the general merchandise was a pretty dirty industry, but the clothing is a whole nother world. I mean, these people are ruthless, they're cutthroat. They have no issues with burning people. You know, we've become very much a relationship based instead of a transactional based business. And, you know, for us, you know, we know mistakes are going to happen, but if we know our supplier is good to us, you know, we're going to be pretty loyal to them. And, you know, there's been times that we've been loyal to a fault where, being loyal to people and kind of turning our eye and, you know, maybe saying like, oh, this one load wasn't what it was supposed to be. And then the next one, oh, it wasn't what it was supposed to be. But, you know, we're still loyal because the person's still standing there telling us, you know, X, Y, and Z, and the next thing we know, we get another load. So I think the we have made the mistakes of being too loyal at times with people where, you know, after two, three, four times of burning us, it's you know, it's a bad deal. Where I think we should have probably stood up the first time and said, "Hey, you know, this is a pretty big mistake. You know, we paid X number of dollars for this, and you told us it was this, but it's not that. So what are we going to do, you know, to rectify the matter?" Um, and that's I think again that was all stuff that we've learned just along the ways, and trying to find established suppliers that can supply the amount of volume that we're selling right now on whatnot is pretty tough, you know. But once some of these people figure out, you know, who we are and the amount of volume and the amount of product that we're actually selling on a daily and weekly and monthly basis, it's made it a lot easier to have very sustainable relationships with people.
Makes sense. I mean, it's like yeah, I agree with that. Like in this business, you really do have to find out who is authentic, who is not. Mistakes do happen sometimes, but if you get as close as you can to the source itself, the probability of mistakes happening is lesser because, and by like closest to the source, I mean is like either buy directly from the retailer, just like you were buying Target truckloads, or buy from the direct contract holders who are buying from the Target itself. So yeah, that's one. It's a cobweb that I feel as well, where this industry has multiple like broker over broker over broker over broker. By the time it's just reaching to the real reseller or the person who's going to actually give it to the consumer. It's processed so much process that nobody even knows what it started with. Um,
Yeah.
and I'm guessing in the clothing industry, it must be even more complex, given that you're dealing with high unit loads. It's very hard to kind of quality check and say that, hey, this was promised and this is what you got. So, like, how do you manage those kind of challenges where you're dealing with multiple, like like thousands of units? Because if you're buying furniture, it's like 140 items in a truckload, so you're able to easily see, okay, this is what it is. But with clothing, it's like, okay, there are 70,000 items. So I'm guessing you're making some sort of a estimation that, yeah, this is what a good load looks like and this is what a bad load looks like in the clothing industry.
Yeah, it's very funny. When we started on Whatnot, we had about 30,000 units of Sam's Club and Target clothing sitting in our racks that we never knew what to do with clothing. We were horrible at selling it in our discount store, in our bin stores. It was something we were never good at. So when it came time for starting on Whatnot, we had all this clothing and we really knew nothing about what we were doing with it. And as we transitioned to going to higher end brands and some of these, the bigger brands, and buying these loads from people, just like you said, 20,000, 50,000, 100,000 units come in, it's very hard to do a QC check and keep the cost down, because as we start spending the labor on, checking unit by unit or gaylord by gaylord, before you know it, uh, any money that we could make, it's all out the window because we spent it all on labor. So we've begun like doing pretty heavy spot checks, and pulling out, whether it comes in boxes or comes in gaylords, where we pull out 50 units, 100 units, and make sure, hey, this is what it was. You probably are aware of it just like I am, but manifested loads typically don't come out as fully manifested. There's some surprises in there and some things. So, I think the spot checking is the biggest thing for us. And, we're always trying to evolve our processes. And when we moved into this warehouse, we thought we were going to have enough room for when these high end brands came in, that we were going to be able to have, like one long clothing rack, maybe 80 feet, 100 feet long, and be able to just hang a whole load and be able to sort through it and be able to curate and make the shows better for the buyer. And before we knew it, we're already splitting at the seams in this building that we're in, and we're unable to do something like that. But I also don't think that the juice is worth the squeeze at the end. Is it really going to be worth to hang up 70,000, 100,000 units to be able to kind of sift through and sort through what it is? So I think our big thing right now with when we're buying is, whether it's 2,000 units or 100,000 units, the spot checking, just to be able to keep the vendor and ourselves honest on those deals.
Makes sense. Are there any like specific red flags that you look while doing your purchasing? Like that, if you see this particular sign from a particular person that you're buying from, company that you're buying from, or about a certain load, that you just walk away from it? Like, are there any red flags that kind of come across like, no, I'm not touching this? Like,
Yeah, there's been times where, somebody says it's, I use the word mix very loosely. If you ask what the mix is and they give you two or three brands, but then all of a sudden you get the load, it's 50,000 units and you hear that it's two or three brands, but then you see there's five, six, seven, 10 brands in there. And a lot of these people almost treat it like the drug world, where they cut it to make it bigger, and fill it with some lower end brands. And those are major red flags to us. As soon as we see that, we know, A, the vendor is not going to be a trustworthy, long lasting vendor. B, they're in it for just that quick dollar. And we have no issues with sending loads like that back to a vendor, and going on to the next one.
that makes sense. Yeah. I mean, processing is, I think, one of the biggest problem this industry has, where um, people would buy loads and mix things, mix fillers, and take good things out of them. Out of the, I mean, even the biggest players in this industry do that, where they would be. I wouldn't name any names, but even the biggest players in this industry would buy loads directly from these big retailers and would process them and flip them without giving full clarity on what exactly they're selling. Um, I want to shift more towards the like the demand side of it. What do you have you seen? I know you've already and I want to touch upon the whatnot business, that empire. I wouldn't call it a business. I would call it an empire because at this point you're one of the biggest at whatnot. But um, how has the buyer demand changed in the last 2 3 years? Like, have you I know the bin store industry has slowed down in the last 3 4 years. What trends have you seen on the buyer side of things where you were selling to resellers? Are those resellers still like thriving? How has the bin store industry evolved? And then like how where is the buyer demand coming from for you at
And
this
I can
point?
speak to like the West Coast trends, for us and like the local people that we have. We have a pretty big social media following on Instagram and TikTok. And a lot of the local people are still asking for, small pallets and things like that. But the problem is they're still looking at, buying product at prices from 3 years ago, 5 years ago. And it just doesn't exist anymore. I mean, most anybody that's been in the industry more than a couple years has seen that the cost of goods have gone up significantly, and a lot of these resellers are not willing to adapt to new pricing. And that was the biggest reason why we closed down our discount store after it transitioned from the bin store model into a discount store. It wasn't sustainable for us because we had built such a following of resellers buying from us that when they wouldn't want to buy from us because we had to raise the price $1, um, they would attempt to go somewhere else or goes, the next thing you know, they're back at us. Hey, can I buy this? Can I buy this? And it's like, we can't sell it. So we tried really reaching out to more of like the local mom and pop people that are just looking to, buy onesies and twosies for their house. But we couldn't turn the volume fast enough. And that's again why we transitioned to whatnot. And I think, from the whatnot side of things, from the buyer, people are getting a lot more trust in buying uh, from e-commerce platforms, and it's becoming more of a regular. I wouldn't say whatnot is anywhere near having the name of eBay being a household name, or that type of Poshmark is a little bit more, I would say, more well known than whatnot. But I do see that the trend of live selling is huge, and I could see, we have a lot of availability of selling wholesale on the platform. I again, that's another term for me that I laugh at when people ask me, hey, can I buy wholesale? I'm like, you don't want wholesale pricing, you want liquidated pricing. Like wholesale pricing, none of us are going to make money. So I think that part of the industry and the buyer is very much being educated to see that brick and mortars are closing, and the live selling and the e-commerce platforms are the way of buying and selling now.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, live selling is kind of replacing, the QVC networks that used to run, right? Where you find good deals and people have a lot of credibility. Like, it's also where you're buying from, where, Whatnot being a very good platform has a good CX, like has multiple sellers. It's a source of entertainment as well as buying for people. um, do you see like certain kind of before we go into that, I think how did you like when you were starting your whatnot business? I'm sure you had to set up different personnel to be able to run that business. There must be some technology involved as well to be able to set up on whatnot and whatnot. So what was that process like? Where I'm guessing like it's easier said than done, but when you're dealing with thousands of items, how do you inventory manage the inventory, put them up on whatnot? How do you sell them? So what does that like initial process look like for you with respect to getting started on whatnot?
Yeah, when we originally started on Whatnot, we had a girl that was a customer of ours that turned into an employee of ours doing static listings on Poshmark and Macari and some eBay.
Mhm.
Her and her husband basically like turned in the family to us, and she did a ton of business for us on those platforms. And when we got the notion that Whatnot was something new, and we talked to her about it, she said, "Hey, I'd be interested. Let's try to get this going." So she actually initiated the whole deal and set up our account on Whatnot. Her and her husband ran the first couple shows, and then my business partner and I had no clue what was going on and how it was working. And then after I think about the third show or fourth show, where we came in to ship 30 items or 40 items, and we thought that was like a pretty cool deal. Like, oh yeah, this isn't bad. And then we started realizing like, man, if we could do this 5 times, 10 times, 20 times in a day, this could be a business. So always have to say thank you to Jamie and her husband. They helped us get our whatnot started and get our feet started. They're still very good friends of ours today. So I would say with that part of it, it was hard. Like just to get an understanding of how to list things and how to on we do pretty much everything is like a random pallet poll. So there's no real static listing for us on whatnot. Everything is pretty random, even if we're curated shows where stuff is hung on hangers. We don't actually list every single item since we're a volume seller. Everything is just it's quote unquote random for us. um, from there, hiring people, trying to find people that actually wanted to work, and trying to figure out, what a good starting pay was. And, again, Jose and I were still kind of getting an idea of, how much of the fees on whatnot, and, how much can we afford to pay people. We could have scaled this business a long time ago. I mean, even faster than we already have, if we could find people that wanted to work. That was one of the hardest things. Product and that type of stuff was easy for us. Finding people to actually be able to stream for us and sell for us, that's been the hardest and the biggest pain point for us.
Yeah, I can imagine like not everyone's super camera, camera comfortable, and it's not a traditional job. You really have to have a skill for it. Like you can't just like you have to entertain people. You have to kind of make it exciting for people to bid on products and still continue doing it for a while. And while you were doing it, like, were there any like rookie mistakes that you made where you felt like, all right, this is something we should have really avoided while building our whatnot business?
And we did a shoe show once where I think we did like 25 or $30,000 in the show in gross revenue. Uh, and we ended up spending over 5,000 or $6,000 in shipping.
Mhm.
Um, Massive mistake, just simply because we had no clue, how to upload the shipping. And, there's different nuances to how the shipping works on the platform. And man, that was like a day of defeat. We worked our rear ends off. We were ready to ship all this stuff. And then all of a sudden we're like, where's all the money? And it was simply because we had put in the wrong shipping weights. And we actually made that mistake. I think it was two times or three times with selling shoes, where we uploaded the wrong shipping weights. And then, people were buying 20, 30, 40 pairs of shoes. And we were having to get these like massive boxes to ship. The frequently asked questions and the videos and things on whatnot on how to teach shipping, that's the biggest complaint. Still to today, I talk to a lot of newer sellers and try to help them out and answer questions. And we have multiple dedicated whatnot reps that we speak to on a daily, weekly basis. And I always telling them, you guys have got to do something about teaching people how to ship on this platform, because there's a lot of new businesses that can join this platform, and they have a successful show, and next thing you know, it's not successful because they've lost so much money in shipping. So it's something in trying to support some of the newer sellers and helping them understand how the shipping works, because we've made costly mistakes on the shipping side of things.
Yeah, shipping can easily add up, and it's not fun when shipping bills kind of pile up. And I'm guessing with whatnot, where I mean, I'm not saying it's lower at ASP, but I'm guessing even the shipping must be like 50% of the price sometime of the total ticket height, like ticket value at some time. So if you like mess that up, then you're actually eating into your margins completely. Um,
Yeah, learning the shipping and learning how the fees work on whatnot. If you can lower your shipping costs, it actually, in the long run,
mhm.
um, lowers what your commission fees are that are being deducted. So that's something for us that we've been able to save a lot of money in just learning and teaching ourselves that, because it's something that it's very, very, very difficult to understand getting going on the platform.
Makes sense. Are you able to use like softwares like ShipStation and other things, like, or is it all built into the whatnot ecosystem itself? Like they have their own software that you have to use for shipping, or are you able to use your own ShipStation or like other shipping softwares, UPS or something like that?
It's all built into whatnot, so it's all via USPS. Yeah, it's definitely a pain point. They're beta testing some other, using UPS. Um, we're under a couple beta programs where we could actually test and pilot shipping UPS. We could ship pallets through the app. There's a few things that they're working on, but I think at the end of the day, USPS is probably going to be their priority. Um, that's a whole nother ball game for us. The volume that we ship, trying to get pickups to stay on time. It's created, the last like 45 days, 60 days for us. It's been massive pain points. We were getting dinged on ship times. Stuff's ready to ship. We've got 6 full-time shippers right now. We ship almost 24 hours a day, and we're shipping 3,000 to 5,000 packages a day right now. And our USPS local office, they weren't picking up. They would wait 2 days, 3 days to come pick up from us, and it was actually penalizing us to where we had to get Whatnot involved. We had to get Whatnot to be able to get a hold of their postal people to help us out. And now we actually have a semi truck that shows up every single morning, 6 days a week, and we fill up an entire semi plus some every single morning shipping out of here.
Yeah, I mean, I can imagine in the beginning you must have had to show them the volume that, hey, that is why I would show up daily. Like I had similar challenges when I was running my warehouse where USPS would sometimes show up. Sometimes there was no like regularity. Okay, I show up on Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and once you start giving them the volume, then you can make a case with them that, hey, you should show up every day, every working day. For you and like for other like businesses on whatnot, what do you think is the biggest metric? Is it like number of sales? Is it watch time? Is it repeat customers? Like, how do you measure the success of your business? Is it pure revenue, or do you look at other things that like, hey, number of people who are watching my show has increased, or the repeat customers have increased? Like, what kind of metrics do like look at to kind of see that the business is going in the right direction?
We've got 6 channels now on Whatnot, so they're all pretty much selling different things. So we have one selling our primary as like our higher end women's clothing. Our second channel we're actually completely rebranding, and starting next week, we'll be going in a completely different direction. Our third channel is a makeup and beauty channel, where we sell anywhere from 8,000 to 10,000 units a day of makeup on that channel. Our fourth channel is a wholesale channel. Is like bundles and case packs all day long. Our fifth channel is 100% towards beauty, or towards jewelry and moissanite jewelry. And then our sixth channel is almost like a franchise channel where she sells off a lot of the inventory, just in smaller increments, where we supply her the inventory, very similar to the stuff that we sell. Um, so it's a pretty cool program that we've worked out with her where she can run when she wants, sell how she wants. We just supply her the inventory. Um, but at the end of the day, I think they all kind of have their own individual metrics, right? Like each one, we know what the average selling price needs to be. So watching that, we don't necessarily do dollar starts like, a lot of the bigger channels when they've started, oh, it has to be a dollar start. We've kind of gotten away from that and educating the buyer and, what they're buying. And hey, you're still getting a heck of a deal with, a $10, $20, $30 start. Um, I think the other metrics that's a huge for us is our gross revenue per hour. We've got a pretty big number to pay for, our warehouse and our payroll. So keeping track of what we're grossing per hour is another one that, I watch almost on a daily basis to see, where that number is going and what can we do to, work smarter, not harder. It doesn't necessarily mean we have to stream more, but in the time that we are streaming, can we actually throw in an extra item and get an extra $5 or $10 a transaction and make it, better for the customer to actually have to pay less shipping to get more items? So, it's what we've done very well with our beauty channel. It sells bundles all day long of beauty, 10 pieces, 15 pieces, 20 pieces at a time. It keeps the average selling price a little bit higher, which in turn keeps the gross revenue per hour higher, and it makes it easier just to kind of get gauge. What are we actually bringing in on a daily basis in here?
Makes sense. I mean, I've summarized, you've essentially created category-based channels where you're selling different products. So you're creating an audience niched into that particular category along with programs where you're scaling through partners. So that's super interesting. And I like how you kind of look at GMV per hour and you kind of see that. So I think that that is something which not traditional retailers are used to, like that kind of looking at metrics like that, like GMV per hour, watch time, stream time. So I think those are new things that are coming into this industry. Where do you see this? Live? Do you see live selling replacing auctions and like bin stores completely, or do you see that there would still be a place for other kind of channels like bin stores and discount stores, or do you think everything is gonna be more live store based, live selling based?
My gut tells me that, there's still going to be somewhat of a place for the bin stores and seeing that, but I think as people continue to get more comfortable and these platforms like Whatnot um, become more household names, I think that I mean my confidence level is I mean I would like to just say we're basically 100% in on Whatnot. I mean the TikTok shop, eBay Live is starting to take off out here in the U.S. I think there's probably still going to be a time and a place for some of these brick and mortar stores, but at the end of the day, I mean, you look at the bigger stores, they're carrying less and less inventory, and they're switching primarily to e-commerce based stuff too. So, I think the wave, Gary Vee is always talking about how live selling is the way of the future, and you continue to see some of even brands direct now are going live on TikTok Shop, and there's a couple brands, big brands that have gone live on Whatnot. So my gut tells me, how we've always continued to be able to adapt and adjust to what's going on in the world. I feel like e-commerce or with live selling is going to be the way of the future. I mean, it's so easy to walk, everybody's always on Instagram swiping or on TikTok, scrolling. It's very easy to just jump on Whatnot, buy a pair of shoes. 2 minutes later, you're buying a box of candy. And then another minute later, you're buying, God knows what. You could buy a pallet, all in 5 minutes. Like you could just go show to show to show. I always, Chris Lynn used this phrase a long time ago with Whatnot is, we're in the business of making people make that bad decisions, and that's they impulsively shop on Whatnot, just like the front registers and the end caps at Target. It's very much the same thing. It's people get into the excitement of bidding and swiping.
Yeah, 100%. It's like as a yeah, it's impulsive buying. It's like on the spot buying. It's also a little bit like QVC where you feel like I need this stuff, but you don't know if you need it or don't need it at some point. So yeah, I think along with the social media trends that we have in the country, I think it's live selling really fits well because you're still swiping, you're still going through the experience. It's so easy to buy. Whatnot is solving a lot of complexity in the background is what I feel like, because it's easy to say that hey, it's just you're selling online like live shopping, but how do you get the shipping right? You're just showing a product, and is that same product going to go to that same customer? If a customer is buying 7 8 things in a 30-minute session, how exactly those packages are going to get consolidated if they are? So I feel bullish about live selling as well. Do you see them any different than Poshmark and Mercury and like these other used goods marketplaces? Do you see like a difference between Poshmark and whatnot? Like, would you say one is better than the other, or what would be the differences between selling on not I wouldn't say traditional, but like not live shopping, but like Poshmark types and then whatnot?
I guess we haven't really done much with the static listings on Whatnot. We've done a few times with some of the like luxury purses and things like that. We were very successful on Poshmark and Macari selling with the static listings. I think there's still a time and a place, and a part of us still. Every time we say that we're gonna do this, we end up, the business grows, and then end up having to put it on the side. But still selling on eBay and Poshmark, I think would be something that would be very advantageous to our business, just to be able to sell off if we ever get like a deep SKUs. If it's 500 pieces of the same SKU, that's something that's very easy to go list on Poshmark. But then it's who's going to manage that? Where are we going to store it? And our inventory turns so fast in here, and having all the shipping and everything that goes on. I feel like I would rather us focus on being really good at one thing versus, subpar on multiple things, even though I know it would be a great asset to our business and be able to generate revenue that's just basically sitting in the corner.
Makes sense. I mean, as you were saying, like, work smarter. So it's, I think in that manner, it's Whatnot makes it easier to operate because you don't have to do the listings. You're essentially just picking out items from your pallets and you're selling them right away. And with Poshmark, with eBay, I think the inherent part, and that's something we face at Commerce Central as well. Listing product itself can take so much time that some people kind of hesitate from that, what to list, what not to list, what information to provide, what information not to provide. Whereas with Whatnot, it's just simpler to kind of just say, here's an item, do you want to buy it? This is a brand, and kind of get rid of it from that perspective. Are you evaluating other live shopping platforms as well, like, or are you just sticking with Whatnot right now? I think there's one or two more that I think there was something called as Lemonade, and there was something called as Depop, which are also like live selling platforms. Like, are you on those platforms as well, or are you like building a business around Whatnot itself?
As of right now, we're 100% exclusive to Whatnot. We have an agreement with them to be exclusive. I think in the future, definitely touching on like TikTok Shop. I do see TikTok Shop is, from what other people are telling us, making it a lot easier to be able to stream like random items. I also think, eBay is still a massive household name to everybody. Everybody knows eBay just like they know Amazon. And I think eBay Live, as it continues to get better and more efficient, would be another place for us to dabble into to selling. And we Jose's my business partner's got a lot of creative. He's the creative side of things, and I'm more of the salesman. So, I do most all the buying, and he does a lot of the behind the scenes stuff. And he's working on some things and has a lot of creative ideas for different ways of the future with live selling and other opportunities that we see room for us to grow. Not necessarily on the front side in the customer facing side, but on the back side as somebody that can help and facilitate things.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, back ops of running a retail business or a business like this is much more complex than the front end. I think the marketplaces make it easier, but I guess in live shopping, the personnel piece, I would say, is the biggest challenge. Finding people who would want to go live with a very positive energy, and like try to move sales and whatnot. And sometimes it could be very demoralizing as well. I've seen a few Whatnot shows just for my research purposes. Some channels, when they're starting out, it's very demoralizing when people are not showing up. So the starting, people take it a little on their self-worth that, hey, if people are not showing up, then something's wrong with you or with your products, right? So I think the initial phase of building a Whatnot business has more challenges because you have to bring your personality to the business and not just your brains, where you can just be in the background and be very good at listing, knowing what the pricing is and whatnot. This is super exciting, Ryan. I really loved the conversation, learning about Whatnot. Anything else you'd want to share about the business or anything that else? I have a few fun questions for you after this, but yeah, anything else that you'd like to share before that?
Yeah, I mean, you just touched on something that we're facing right now on our jewelry channel. It's brand new. It's less than 60 days old. We started it from scratch. It was literally, we had no followers, and we're going through those pains. And we have 113 or 115,000 followers on our main channel. Our second channel, I think, is like 70,000. Our third channel is over 70,000. The fourth channel hit, I think, 11,000 followers this weekend in under 60 days.
Mhm.
The biggest thing that if anybody's watching this that wants to get on Whatnot, the biggest, most important thing is consistency. Our jewelry channel now in under 60 days is touching on about 7,000 followers. But there's still days that we only have, 12 people, 15 people in the room. And a lot of it's all about the personality. A lot of people don't realize getting on camera, you can stand there and hold up a dress, you can hold up whatever you want to sell, but a large part of this app is entertainment. People want to feel like they're here talking to you, and they want to hear their name when they win. And there's a lot of little nuances to this app that, if people would pick up on the psychological things of what the buyers and the viewers want to hear, they'll be a lot more successful.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, they have to have that knack of engaging a public, which is not actually sitting in front of them, but they have to realize that, yeah, I mean, if 100 people are watching, you can assume that 100 people are right in front of you and you're doing an auction. And that's what it is. Like, some people don't, I think not able to kind of just acclimatize themselves to that kind of environment where you have to really bring the energy, because that's what's going to make them stick. If you're going to be very dull while selling, even if you're selling the best things, you wouldn't be able to differentiate. They are also associating with your personality. They want to buy from you, not just the product, but how you're selling. Awesome. Few last questions from me. And these are more like rapid fire, like one word answers. What's the weirdest thing that you've ever sold on Whatnot or anywhere else?
I signed a piece of toilet paper and it went for over $100.
Oh, wow. Like, what was so special about that? Or was it just someone
It
got,
was a fun show, and I literally people wanted to buy just about anything, and I grabbed a piece of toilet paper. I think my dad gave it to me, and I
wow.
autographed it, and I auctioned it off at a 5 second sudden death where the timer doesn't reset. I ended up giving him a bunch of other stuff, but yeah, that was the most interesting thing.
Yeah, it is. Definitely, it is. Like, man, I can imagine. And what's the best flip? Like, what's the, like, where you felt like, yeah, this was the best product I sold on Whatnot?
And it's so hard. I think electronics, when we had a very good supply of electronics, and we were getting them at a really good price, that was I think electronics are probably the most fun and entertaining. People love to buy. I mean, even people are willing to overpay for them just to know that they're buying from, a small business versus going out and buying from Target or Walmart or.
Mhm. Makes sense. Um, your favorite Whatnot streamer, like other than obviously your own personnel, but anyone else that you like on the Whatnot?
My favorite is a girl named ZK Styles, Zareen. She's out of Las Vegas. Hands down, one of my favorite streamers. I love watching her. I've actually been able to establish a pretty good relationship with her, and talk business and just talk life. So she's awesome. If you ever get the opportunity, her channel is ZK Styles. She's
ZK Styles.
amazing to watch.
Awesome. Yeah, I'm gonna check her out. Um, Last question. What's next for you guys? Like, I know you mentioned you're doubling down on Whatnot, but are you adding more categories, more platforms?
I always say, in the last couple of days, we've been talking about for us, what is next, and I think. Uh, getting better at where we are. I think running 6 channels right now is pretty difficult. It's we're streaming upwards of 50 hours in a 24-hour day. So it's to manage the inventory needed for that. I mean, it's a full-time job on top of the personnel and hiring. So I think right now is for the rest of the year and into the beginning of next year is 100% just let's focus on getting better at what we're doing because we know we still have room for growth.
Yeah, makes sense. It's like optimizing what you've built to kind of even grow it more. That's super awesome,
Yeah,
man.
we're the first women's contemporary sellers on the platform to gross $1 million in a month. We did it multiple times last year, and we just actually accomplished it again this past month. So that's a huge, feat in itself. But just to sustain the product coming in that's the hardest part.
Yeah, I can imagine. I hope Whatnot is taking good care of you guys and giving you guys like good incentives, maybe some yacht parties or something like that. But like giving them so much business, I think it's well deserved. Ryan, this has been a pleasure. Any last words from you? I would love to have your channels in the subtitles and things like that, so that people can check out those 6 channels. But any other
Okay.
uh, last words for the podcast from you?
No, I appreciate your time. I appreciate the opportunity of being on here, and this is the first time for us to do this. And hopefully, there's many more. And I'd love to, touch base with you again, in 6 more months and see where we're at.
Yeah, 100%. Ryan, this has been my pleasure as well. I really enjoyed this conversation, learned a ton. Anyone listening to it is going to learn a ton as well, I'm pretty sure. So I really appreciate the time, and thanks for coming on the show.
Awesome. Thank you again. Have a great rest of your day.
Yeah, you too. Thank you.
Thanks. Bye.